Go ahead, Henrik.
Yeah, no, so I'm Henrik Nolmark. I'm the director of VREF, and it's really a pleasure to welcome you all to this research forum. And we have the three still relatively newly started African research programs that will be presented, I would say, for the first time fully in public. Some of you were in Gothenburg in May and met them, but this is the first time that it's open to anybody to join a presentation of the three African research programs. And Jane will introduce them more properly in a minute, but I just wanted to mention that we have the ETAMAC, which is Equitable Transport, Access and Mobility in African Cities, led by Gift Dumedah. We have the MIDUTA, Governing Urban Mobility, Making and Implementing Decisions in Urban Transport in Sub-Saharan Africa, led by Gladys Niacheo. And we have the POINT African Research Program, Popular to Popular Transport Integration in Sub-Saharan Africa, led by Josephine Malonza. And we also have three commenters, and Jane will introduce everybody properly when she comes in as moderator. But I just wanted to say that this is really also a milestone in VREF's initiative, the MAC program, the Mobility and Access in African Cities program, and to have now moved from a more decentralized version of the MAC program with many smaller so-called exploratory projects and more program-oriented approach with long-term or relatively long-term at least programs, and with many partners in each of the programs. So represented here by the three leaders are a big group of researchers and other partners. Somebody has the mic on, can you please?
I think it's Irie van der Ven. Could you please mute?
So,
Irie,
yes,
thank you.
Thank you. So, but with that, I'm handing over to our moderator of the day, Jane Summerton, who's also scientific advisor at VREF. We have a few other colleagues here from VREF as well. We have Karin Henriksson, communication officer. We have Evelina Wahlqvist, and who is our program manager. And then we are missing David, right? David Lindelöf, he's not here today. But and I hope I didn't forget anybody. But with that, very welcome everybody. I'm looking forward to a really exciting webinar here today. And over to you, Jane.
Thanks very much, Henrik. Hello, everyone. Great to see so many familiar faces and also new ones from across the whole span of our programs. Again, we're very excited today to gather the three new African research programs in mobility and access. And also, I will mention as a complement to Henrik's remarks that these are three-year programs. There's a concentrated support from VREF from 2025 to 2027. So we're really excited to be able to present them and discuss them with the broader community today. So the format for today's session will be that each of the consortium leaders will present the current program of work and the plans for the consortium, followed by a discussant who will provide general comments and maybe some thoughtful questions. When all three have presented, we will then have an open discussion in plenary with all of you. We urge you to make your notations about the things you're curious about or the things that were unclear, and raise your hand and join the discussion. And then we'll conclude with some news from VREF before wrapping up the whole session. So great to have everyone here. So our first speaker is Gift Dumedah. Gift, I will ask you to please upload your slides. As Henrik mentioned, he is the consortium leader for ETAMAC, focused on equity. And Gift is an associate professor of geography and a senior fellow at the Transport Research and Education Center in Kumasi, Trek, as many of you know, at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana. His interests focus on transport relations with health and the environment, urban dynamics, and GIS, Geospatial Information Service and Technology. He is the leader of the ETAMAC. So over to you, Gift. You have 15 minutes. Thank you. So Gift, there you are.
Okay.
Now.
All right. Good day, everyone. I hope, Jen, I hope you can hear me. All right, great. Thank you very much. I first of all want to thank VREF for the support given to us, and then also and this very platform to also present our work. I also want to recognize our partners from the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, University of Winneba in Ghana, University of Loma, Togo, University of Pretoria in South Africa as well, and then University of Alabama in Alabama, USA, and some of them are on the call as well, and as well as some of our new recruits, new next generation scholars as well. So our focus is on equity of transport access, and by equity, we are going to be referring to, there we go. By equity, we are going to be referring to the core aspect of transport, which is to provide access to opportunities for all people, women, persons with disability, or people living in informal urban communities. And in Sub-Saharan Africa, we do know that these assets can be highly differentiated in terms of economic disadvantage, social disadvantage, or environmental disadvantage in terms of the communities where you live. So our research is looking at creating a concerted research and coalition in terms of groupings around this to be able to provide some local insights, and then also strategies that are actually adaptable, as well as holistic in terms of perspective. So we propose what we call here the equitable transport access and mobility. And I will be unpacking a little bit of what we mean by the ETAMAC and its focus in the slides ahead. So the ETAMAC focus, as we know, equity can be a very nebulous term, and by equity, we want to break it down that in terms of transport systems, mobility focuses on the system, its infrastructure, travel speed, congestion, and all of that. But with equity, we are focusing on users of the system. That is the people who actually use the system. And for us to address that, we have selected three major teams, which is the access to which people are able to access opportunities or reach opportunities, go to the hospital, go to school, go to work, as well as the efficiency of that transport system and the health and safety aspect. As we know that transport it has a huge public health and safety impact. To be able to do this, we are guided with this research problem, which is how can transport-related equity challenges can be mitigated. And when we are doing this, we are looking at both access and mobility frameworks, but we also want to focus on the monetary aspect. What is the socioeconomic benefits and cost effectiveness of doing so? Because most of the time, people might say that, yes, the system is not effective, but what is the socioeconomic cost benefit of that? So our research will also be looking at not just the benefits of actually doing it, but also the cost implications as well. And we do know that when Sub-Saharan Africa, this mobility or this access is mostly provided by public transport, mostly paratransit, as well as non-motorized transport, NMT systems. So we'll be focusing on these to PT and NMT. Our approach is to use a multi-actor approach, and by this we mean having a participatory approach from industry, as well as practitioners, operators, as well as researchers to be able to carry out this research. And in doing so, we are going to be collaborating with policy makers, as well as to provide some educational programs, which I will I'll provide details in the slides ahead. In terms of focus study areas, we are using these four Sub-Saharan African cities: Accra, Ghana; Loma, Togo; Pretoria, South Africa; and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. And I will be inviting others on the call as well. Our framework is adaptable to other cities, and if you are happy about our framework, we much more open for you to get in touch to perhaps look at ways to collaborate in extending some of our framework. To be able to do this, what we began was we had a stakeholder consultation in three of the study cities: Accra, Ghana; Loma, Togo; and then Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to get feedback and input from industry practitioners, from policymakers, as well as researchers. These then led to the various focus areas in terms of access, efficiency, and then health and safety for public transport. And we are currently working on a think piece with VREF, which will be coming out very soon, which provides a background to our study, which really has the various teams on transport-related equity in Sub-Saharan African cities, and then it focus areas in terms of access, efficiency, and health and safety. So look out for that. It will be coming out very soon. Our overall approach is what we have on this slide, and I will want to take some time to take you through. And this is our overall framework. So first, we have a methodological framework where we are having a stakeholder consultation, some of which we have done, but we'll continue to do that as we carry out this work. And we're also intending to integrate multi-sector data streams from economics, from transport systems, from social public transport, health system as well. And we are also using mixed methods in terms of integrating qualitative and quantitative approach with participatory input from industry as well as practitioners. And we are also carrying out comparative studies with our study cities. And this is why I invite others perhaps to join us in terms of the comparative part as well. So to break it down, our main aspect of it in terms of universal access, we have identified three major activities under that. So one is looking at access to services. We are looking at access to jobs or workplace, education, health and safety, as well as healthcare for vulnerable populations. And then the second one, we'll be looking at the mobility-based urban form in terms of the communities that we live in. Most of them, the way they are arranged also affects the way we are able to access opportunities and services. And then we also want to assess the inclusivity. Most of our transport systems are not very inclusive. We want to be able to assess this and be able to provide indicators for them as well. And under the efficiency, we want to see how public transport and NMT options are actually allocated in our communities, because the way these facilities are located or infrastructure are located, in other words, disadvantages some communities or some users indirectly. And very importantly, we will also have a focus on affordability. Most of the time, because of economic constraints, some people may not be able to afford the transport or be able to afford to use a transport system. And overall, under the efficiency, we'll look at the cost effectiveness. This is the aspect where we are not only looking at the benefit side, but also what is the cost of providing those services, those transport services, as well as the infrastructure associated with them. In terms of public health and safety, we are looking at crash. And with this, we are going to be focusing on vulnerable populations, since they are mostly disproportionately disadvantaged in that area, as well as noise and emissions. Most vulnerable populations are selling in very, very unsafe road environments in terms of emissions and in terms of noise. We want to assess that as well. And finally, the personal safety. There are most often crime-related issues, sexual harassment, personal safety issues that are related with people accessing transport. So that is the aspect focused on public on personal safety. Now, all of this, we are going to be one key deliverable is to provide an equity scorecard by integrating all of these three major frameworks to provide for our steady cities a scorecard that gives an indicator of transport equity for these steady cities. And we are also going to be having an online short course that is going to be focused on transport-related equity in Sub-Saharan Africa cities, which will be the an educational tool as an output for our work as well. And what we are doing here today in terms of the research forum, this is part of the dissemination as well. Aside this, we also plan to have some policy briefs, journal articles, and conferences along with that as well. And very importantly, we have also already incorporated next generation scholars, PhDs, masters, and other research assistants to help us carry out this work, who are also on the call today. As I've indicated, some of the activities that we've already have carried out is the ETAMAC team picks that will become available. VREF will publish that through their Think Piece series. And then we have also gotten our next generation scholars who are also part of this call today. But some of them will be presenting in the future, perhaps VREF research forums later. We have made progress on our short course. We have already now developed a study guide for it, and we plan perhaps by next year, 2026, for this online short course to be coming forth as one of the educational tools for this as well. And we've also made some progress on the equity scorecard for our various cities by collecting some of the secondary data and some data collection activities that are currently also ongoing with our partners. So those are some of the key activities that we have already carried out. Perhaps one of the things I've not mentioned was we also have our website, which I think I may have skipped in terms of I'll provide you the URL link in the next page. So the take-home message for ETAMAC is that we aim to lead an applied research and education program on transport-related equity that within Sub-Saharan Africa, we want to be the go-to place in terms of research in this particular area. And this is also very
Gift, excuse me, you have 3 minutes left, please.
Okay, thank you, Jane. This is also very important because for all policy works, this ETAMAC is will also provide the evidence to guide policy decisions in that regard. We are also carrying out research, high quality research, which we are also working with our various collaborators, and we continue to invite others to join us with the framework that I've presented. That some of this framework can be executed in other steady cities. Should you be interested in carrying out a comparative, study in that regard, and also providing actionable guidance, as I've also indicated that. This research will also provide us evidence to guide policy as well as educational programs with the online course that we propose to roll out hopefully next year. This is our web link. You can go to etamac-arp.com. That is our project website to know anything about our consortium. And for the various study cities, we have Accra, Ghana. These are the various contacts. You can contact myself, Enoch, I'm sure, who is on the call as well. And in Dar es Salaam, we have Hannibal, who is a contact person, and Jackie as well. Pretoria, South Africa, Christo Winter, Loma Togo, as well, Asoba Guattari. So the point here is that if you want to work with us in terms of ETAMAC, you don't have to only come to Ghana to work with us. You can partner with our various partner countries, Dar es Salaam, Pretoria, Loma, Togo, to still work with us. You can also still come to Ghana, which is a very beautiful city. We invite you, should you have the chance to do that. So with that, Jane, I think that is all from ETAMAC. Thank you, and I'll take any questions that might follow.
Thank you, Gift. Thank you very much. I will call upon Alexander as our next, as our commentator. Alexander Boakye Marful is an architect and infrastructural planner. He's also a senior lecturer of architecture and a senior fellow of the Technology Consultancy Center for Innovation, Manufacturing, Technology Transfer, Entrepreneurship. It's called TCC-CIMET, I'm told. All at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana. His research interests focus on mobility management, resilient communities, eco-mobility, smart neighborhoods, also tactical urbanism, which sounds fascinating. He currently leads the Ghana team of the POINT program. So please, Alexander, over to you.
Thank you very much, Jane, and thank you very much, Giz, for such a wonderful presentation. And I must say that I'm really fascinated, and concerning the presentation, there are some two main things that I think was coming out very clear, that you are trying to use how to use NMTs and paratransit to solve the equity problems. And then also your equity is focusing on users and also the mobility systems. But for us to actually go into the discussion, I really wanted to ask for you to look at this in the space-time allocation of the public transport. I really, if you can actually slightly in 1 minute, tell us more about how you intend to do the space-time allocation of the public transport. Just some few sentences for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex, for your question. So the space-time allocation, what we mean by this is that currently we do have public transport which go on certain routes. And we do know that with public transport, which are very motivated by economics, and rightly so. So that also means that there are some routes that the operators don't want to apply simply because they want to make more money. That is one. But also in terms of NMT, walking and bicycling, we do know that some of these walking spaces are not provided across the communities in an equal way. So if you want to bike, if you want to walk, even the walking, we do not encourage, they are not connected. So first of all, we want to assess how it is currently, how the space and time, and also the time aspect is in terms of the, let's say, night travel or very morning travel, what that means for passengers and commuters. So that is what we mean by the space time. So we will assess that and then provide some recommendations. Yeah.
Okay, before we go to our listeners, the other thing that I wanted you to also elaborate was in Ghana, from our research and experience, the traffic noise. You say you're going to measure traffic noise, and the traffic noise the noise, apart from the noise coming from the trotros themselves, there are also the conductors who are shouting, sek, kanish, Madina. Those noise, I don't know whether that type of noise is also part of the noise that you're going to measure, and from whose lens are you considering as noise? Because the people themselves in most of these spaces don't consider it noise, because it's a very effective way of communicating to the people in the area. So whose noise? And how do you intend to measure this mixture of the honking amidst the engine, amidst the preaching, also those who are preaching? These are all a mixture of what is actually happening in this ambience. So whose lens are you measuring? Are you going to measure the noise from? Maybe from European perspective, Eurocentric perspective, it is noise. But those who are actually around that place, it sounds music and it sounds life. So how are you going to measure it?
All right, thank you for your question. Yes, so I think that is a very good question in terms of noise. So first, there is a whole conceptual framework around noise. So here we are focused on traffic noise. And so by traffic noise, those who are using the vehicles and making advertisement for their destinations, they are part of the traffic noise. And So that because they are part of a traffic system. So even the hawkers who will be, so they are also part of the traffic system. So the noise in this case is not going to be only from the vehicles, but the traffic system in terms of the movement. So, but having said that, I think we will have to do a bit more conceptual frameworks to be able to provide clear demarcations in terms of where these noises are coming from, and then perhaps for different cities, they might be different sources of that noise.
And so our listeners, concerned, at least for this, after these two questions, I want somebody also from the in terms of, we have about 85 participants. If you have any experience for the noises and then space-time travel, you can also give your contribution. How do you see whether it is noise or music? Because there are times that you will see the market women actually dancing to these, what you call noise. They actually dance, and it is part of releasing tension and cause so I really want to find out how do we, because going to measure it is going to be actually very interesting as to whose perspective are you calling that as noise. So
okay, Alexander, you're approaching the end of your question time, but go ahead.
yeah,
Gift.
I've the question time. I just wanted anybody at all from the participants also to come up with. Then if I've not, Ransford, are you saying something?
Sorry, well, I was just going to say, I think this is a question of, objectively measuring something in terms of decibels, and then what you do with it. So yeah, in terms of actually using the instruments to pick up the amount of noise or levels of noise, I think that's one level. And then the second level is interpretation. Is it really noise, or is it contributing to urban sort of vibrancy? But I think it's something in between. We know how African cities look like in terms of the rhythms of those cities, and a little bit of noise is part of that. But objectively, there is also something in there, and trying to make that sort of connection. I guess it's
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you both. I think we'll draw this to a close now. And thank you both, Gift and Alex, for your comments. We can discuss it more at the end of all three presentations. So our next speaker now is Gladys Niachio. And I would ask you guys to please upload your slides at the moment right now. Gladys is the consortium leader for the Mid-Utah consortium governing urban mobility, making and implementing decisions in transport in Sub-Saharan Africa. Gladys is a senior lecturer and chair of the Department of Sociology in the Faculty of Social Sciences at the Multimedia University of Kenya. Her diverse interests include transport governance, obviously, road safety, public transport, gender mobility, and also walking. And as I said before, she's the principal investigator for this consortium. The floor is yours, Gladys.
Thank you very much, Jane. I'll go straight to what our ARP is looking at, governing urban mobility, and our focus is on making and implementing decisions in transport in Sub-Saharan Africa. I'll start with a simple question, or just a story. Around 2012, there was a decision that was made to have BRT in Kenya. In 2019, this decision was gazetted in the Kenya Gazette Notice. But up to now, we have not seen it implemented. Do you think it is a technical issue? Or what are the other issues that could be in play here? So Mid-Utah, I'll leave you with that question. You can answer it later. So Mid-Utah is looking at the processes and outcomes of making and implementing decisions on three research streams that we have identified: walking infrastructure development, bus rapid transit system development, and paratransit services. We are looking at all these in relation to how politics and power of actors within different organizations, different governance systems at different administrative and geographical units influence this process and outcomes. And our cities of interest are Accra, Kampala, Lagos, and Nairobi. And why are we doing this? In our engagement with the literature and other sources, we have looked at the question of power and politics in the context of real-world transport planning. And we have identified an area that we find under-researched, which is both theoretically and empirically within the existing transport mobility governance research. We know that there exists traditional statistical modeling that are used in transport planning, but they are inadequate in addressing the issues of power and politics in real transport planning decision-making. And that is why our ARP becomes timely and important in Sub-Saharan Africa, especially. In this ARP, we have research questions which we have categorized into three. The first category is on gathering basic information for understanding the transport decision-making context. Here, we have four questions that will give us the opportunity to know that we are looking at who are the actors in the three research streams that I've mentioned. What are the roles and responsibilities of these actors in making and implementing decisions in urban mobility under the three streams that I've mentioned. Also, we are looking at the key policies and decisions together with the actions that have been adopted and implemented on the three research streams that I've mentioned before. Another issue of importance is the level of power and political influence of actors with a stake in the three research streams that I've mentioned. So with that, we have the background and we are able to understand. The next category is the core questions for the research streams that we are looking at in this ARP-MIDUTA. It is, number 5, we are looking at how politics and power of actors contribute to prioritizing and ascending of decisions and policies for working infrastructure, and the other that I've mentioned before. So this is very important to understand how an agenda, how something gets up the agenda to be implemented. Number 6, we are looking at how these actors deploy and negotiate power and politics. This power and politics, of course, is what influences implementation and outcomes of these prioritized solutions. And the third category, we have reserved that for our PhD students, and they're looking at the key variables in transport governance as they explore. Together with our research questions, we have identified and categorized theories. We have 5 categories of theories that are assisting us or giving us a base of developing a conceptual model. And they are decision-making, policy and analysis, planning. These are categories, institutional analysis and organizational behavior. We have political economy and power and politics. And we also have general and transport governance theories that include multi-level governance theories. So this is just a table for display, but that is how we have categorized them. And they are very important because we have a conceptual model that we are elaborating, and they are contributing to that. So before you is our conceptual model. Looking at the innermost core, the core, we see real-world transport action situation. Here we have actors who are interacting. We have outcomes that we see around. And outside that, we have a circular flow that gives us the decision-making process in all its steps. And from both sides, left and right, you can see we have power and politics. And we are looking at the interplay between power, decision-making process, and implementation, and politics. So we see that power influences all the actions within the decision-making process, every step. And this in turn influences what the outcome is. For example, power can be influenced, can show up in terms of who controls the budget. Politics can show up in terms of how are associations mobilized, how are consensus formed, and how do they come to play in making and implementing decisions in transport. So we have come up with also 3 propositions or hypotheses, and these ones I will not read. I'll just let you look at them for like a few seconds and then move to methodology. I'm sure Jane will be sharing this later, so you can interact more with that. Our approach is the ethnography of policy, decision-making, and implementation. And here we are looking at lived reality of governance. And we are using decision-making and implementation process. We are interrogating that process to be able to understand the lived realities of governance as it is. So we are going into in-depth tracking and analysis. We are process tracing. We are looking at a decision or an implementation from when it starts to the end to be able to understand the dynamics of power and politics in it. We have several ways. We have criteria for selecting our case. There are quite a number. So one of them is the length of the decision. You'll see this in a table that I'm going to look at later. So I'll be able to maybe to talk into this a little more later. The methodological approach still going on, where our data collection techniques are, as you can see, we are looking at critical turning points. For example, when BRT was accepted or a decision was made to have a BRT in Kenya, that was a critical turning point in transport policy decision in Kenya. And also when they decided to ban Okada in Accra, Ghana, that was a critical turning point. So such are the things we are looking at. We'll do in-depth interviews. We also do archival analysis, which is very important in process tracing of the action situations that we are focusing on, or the cases. We also do data analysis and prepare individual case reports, also embedded cross-case comparative analysis. Currently we are reviewing archival published resources. We are also looking at the decisions that exist. We want to identify at least over 50. We are holding roundtable meetings. We already had one in Kenya, where we are looking further into the policy decisions that we have and implementation. We are consolidating transport policy decisions identified. We also, at the end, we hope to have about 15 to 20 case study transport policy decisions to look at in our analysis and also testing of our hypothesis. This is the table I was talking about. For example, in Uganda, we look at a transport decision. For example, Namirembe Lumwi walking corridor. We follow it through. And through this analysis, we understand the power and politics that come into play as this is being implemented or prioritized. Then I will share our year's plan from April to December. I want to be faster here because of time. We've already had our in-person project launch. As you know, we are also setting up management. We already set up, it's ongoing, financial communication and all that, and all other systems, websites and etc. We are finalizing identification of our decisions, just like you've seen in the previous table. We've already recruited our 4 PhD students, and we are working on background papers that are giving us the context of the environment we are working on. And we are also elaborating a conceptual model that I've just shared with you, and we are hoping that we'll publish that as a scientific paper. We also have an academic skills learning platform that we are using to build our own capacity and that of our PhD students. Work packages and planned empirical work, as you can see, we have 2 projects and we have 3 research streams. Under public transport, we have paratransit. We also have bus rapid transport. And for comparative aspect, we are looking at Ghana and Nairobi, where we look at matatus and trotro and Okada and boda boda and the relevant research questions. Bus rapid transit, we are looking at Lagos, BRT development. Kampala, we are looking at Nairobi, and Nairobi, we are looking at walking infrastructure. Progress by ARP-MAC pillars. Under the knowledge building and the dissemination, we have identified the research streams that I've just mentioned, and the cities are already identified. Also, we are working on the world policy, the policy decisions, which I've shown on that table, part of it. We are developing papers, which I've mentioned already, categorizing the different theories, advancing a conceptual model, and we also have prepositions that are already there. We've had round tables. We're also disseminating, and we have a a website that I'll be showing you later, where you can get what we are up to. For capacity building, which is overlapping with the next generation of scholars, I've mentioned most of this, so I don't think I should mention the others. So we're also developing MA transport sociology courses, and we are expecting to have a visit with the mobility grant winners to come and help us in this project. And most importantly, also, we have developed a data extraction tool that is guiding us. And as I said, we are doing archival and all the other analysis. So in conclusion, I would say that we are addressing a very important gap in transport planning and governance research, because as I have mentioned, this is an area that is under researched both theoretically and empirically, and this is what MIDUTA is hoping to cover in the 4 African cities. We have devoted our first year in laying the foundation, and that's why we are doing our round tables. We are doing our working papers to give us an understanding of the existing knowledge, to know which policies we have, which transport decisions are there, institutions, actors, and all that. And we'll devote our second and third years to empirical research, which we hope that will validate the conceptual model that we are developing. And therefore, we look forward to a very fruitful 3-year study, which will produce high quality publications and high quality research from the PhD students and other activities that we are intending to have. And with that, I would like someone to answer the question I asked when I started, but this one can come during the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gladys. I appreciate your keeping to the time. That's wonderful. So our commentator today is Hannibal Boakye, and Hannibal is an associate professor of transport planning and engineering at the University of Dar es Salaam. His research interests include analysis of bus rapid transit, mobility access in informal settlements, and harmonization of regional transport standards. He is part of the ETAMAC consortium, as we heard from Gift. So please, Hannibal, your comments.
Thank you very much, Jane, and congratulations, Gladys, for the MIDUTA research program. It's a very rich program, and it explores new avenues in terms of politics, power, and the governance in urban mobility in Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, maybe to comment on your work, I would start with I think it was the last slide on the validation of the conceptual model. Can you explain a bit more on the validation steps that you are planning to undertake?
Okay. So in this study, we are looking at power and politics. And we are, as you can see, we have our hypotheses or propositions that are guiding us in the field. So when we go to the field, we'll be able to know whether what we are proposing is true or not. So we'll be validating our conceptual model that explains the situation. We are trying to look at how we are testing whether it's actually true that power and politics influence decision making and implementation in the transport research or transport sector. Yes.
If I can go on, will I be wrong to say that maybe because in your program you have high-level stakeholder engagement or workshops, and I was trying to figure out whether this kind of validation will also have some input from your research findings and try to see what kind of governance, maybe a kind of a testing or a piloting. I'm not sure whether that's how you have tried to elaborate. Now, since I have 5 minutes, maybe let me if I can pose the other comments and let you have chance to respond to. The other comment that I have is another one of the streams that you are focusing on is working, and the way you have framed it is working is the kind of the majority of us in the Sub-Saharan Africa, we are using public transport and working, and given these contradicting forces in the urban in terms of power, politics, and so forth. How do you find if you can enlarge this kind of understanding of working so that you can include the other coalitions? Or, for instance, Minister of Health, you talking about working in terms of health aspects, talking about working in terms of equity, so that the discussion is broadened. That was another aspect that I wanted you to either to clarify or to comment on. The other one is on the governance issue. We know that governance is evolving. So governance choices today may influence or alter tomorrow's actors, network, and even the power of those actors. How are you going to handle this in your research program? And the last one is on the digital governance. Digital governance. How do you consider this in your? For instance, we have these digital fare systems, electric vehicle pilots that we are trying to put in our cities. How is this shaping the governance issue? Thank you so much.
Okay, I don't know whether I should be answering.
Just a short comment, Gladys, go ahead.
Okay. As I do that, I forgot to show the consortium members. I'm sure they will strangle me after this. As before I answer that, I can share that with you. You can see the consortium members, and also the represented institutions are there together with the website and our email address as a consortium. So I'm sure now nobody will beat me up after this. So I'll just maybe attempt to answer your last question, Hannibal. We are not looking at the dynamics you've mentioned. When we look at digital governance, our focus will be how does power and politics influence the outcomes of such. For example, we've had a situation in Kenya where we were talking about the use of no use of cash, use of no cash within the public transport system. And after that was said, because the environment where we work in is that we have private, of course it's paratransit mostly. So what came out of that is what we look at. We look at under politics, which coalitions came together and rejected that, which ones came together and accepted that. And for the power, who had the power to refuse or to do that? So those are the things that we are looking at, and the interplay between those and what the outcome was. The outcome was that we are not using no power. We are still using cash on in our work in public transport. So those are the dynamics we are looking at: the issues of power, politics, and the implementation of such decisions. Yeah, thank you. I hope I've answered you.
Thank you, Gladys. And thank you also, Hannibal, for your insightful questions and comments. Okay, so our third and final presenter is Josephine Malanza. She is the consortium leader for POINT, which stands for Popular-to-Popular Transport Integration in Sub-Saharan Africa, the case of Rwanda and Ghana. Thank you for loading up your slides there. Josephine is a senior lecturer of architecture and urban design. She is also dean of the School of Architecture and the Built Environment at the College of Science and Technology at the University of Rwanda. Her work focuses on participatory research and spans public space, housing, and urban mobility. And again, she is our consortium leader report. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jane. Good afternoon from Kigali to everyone in our forum today. I cannot start without first congratulating Gift for ETAMAC and Gladys for Mid-Uta for the milestones they have covered so far. We were last together at the summit, and clearly there are additional work that has happened here and there. So I will be taking you through a few slides on our project, which is a popular-to-popular transport integration in Sub-Saharan Africa that looks at both Rwanda and Ghana. The graphic that you see at the middle of my slide here is sort of a summary of our appreciation of what these that we call popular transport are, starting with walking that also comes with extra loads on the head, to bicycle taxis, motor taxis, three-wheelers of different names, tuk-tuks or pragias here and there. And then we have the minibus that's famously known as trotros in Ghana. We also have the public bus in the case of Rwanda, but at least these 5 here will be springing across my presentation. The team is composed of, my slides won't change for some reason. I will reshare again. I'm having a problem with moving my slides. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so you use the PowerPoint mode down there?
Yes. Yes, my slides now can move. So the second slide is to introduce the entire project team. We have 4 institutions represented. Dr. Engineer Alphonse Ngurunziza represents the University of Rwanda and leads a team of 12 researchers, in which we have 7 are academic researchers and 5 are research associates and 2 technical support team members. And then we have associate professor just promoted recently, Alexander Marful, that was a discussant on our first presentation today, that leads the team in Ghana, KNUST, and that's a team of 14. We have 6 researchers and 8 research assistants. And then we have Professor Saya Olmen that leads the team in Finland. That's a team of 4 researchers. And then finally, but not least, we have Professor Tim Shonen, Oxford University, that leads a team of 2. The next slide here is really a demonstration of what our DNA is as point, and this is around Ubuntu. So this is I am because we are. And this was literally practiced here in Rwanda in April this year during the group of meetings that we held here. That's all of us trying to make the circle and trying to replicate the philosophy of Ubuntu, which has become very important in our work. The slide here is introducing our case studies, 2 countries, Ghana and Rwanda, and we made it purposefully just to show how big Ghana is compared to Rwanda or how small Rwanda is compared to Ghana. But the beauty of this is that even though we have 10 times more population and size between the 2 countries, we found that the variables of popular transport integration were quite comparable between the 2 countries. These are our case study neighborhoods within the Kigali city here in Rwanda, Sunyani and Kumasi in Ghana. Our project goals, we are trying to keep them as simple as possible. The first one, we are trying to dismantle place-specific or these networked colonial, post-colonial rationalities that underline the transformation of popular transport in African cities. Because we have argued before and also during the summit that for us, this is not just about the mods, but this is about the way these mods organized space and time from below. So that can only be studied through this bottom-up lens. The other one is contribute to this badly needed cross-city and cross-regional comparative research in Africa. So trying to touch again on the smaller cities, the less known cities, the less researched cities. And this is one of the reasons why during the course of the project, we had to change one of our case study cities from Accra to Sunyani. And the other one is really to look at a strategic capacity building among stakeholders. So both cases in Rwanda and Ghana, we have a set of stakeholders that we are working with so that we can inform the future of innovative and impactful policy making in Africa within the space of transport and mobility. The other one is, as per the goal of VREF, is really to provide opportunities for capacity building within our young scholars. Last but not least, with an appreciation of what we've received from VREF, is to work very hard to see how we can generate more grants, attract more funding, to continue with the work, because we believe that it's work that needs to happen over a couple of years to get there with everything. This is a summary of our methodology, which is a cascade of 4 key themes, and all are through participatory workshops. We started with urban transit walks, and this is alongside site reconnaissance in both Rwanda and Ghana. In fact, the one of Rwanda happened earlier in April during the kickoff meeting, and then in Ghana, we were able to do this just last month. We have in storytelling workshops that are being inspired by the narratives and the summaries that we are creating from the site reconnaissance and the urban transit walks. And this will move on into simulation workshops and eventually validation workshops as we go along. So in a bit of detail, we are using surveys and interviews to collect demographic data to understand why people choose the modes, why people behave the way they behave, why people prefer traveling in one way and not the other one. And then we are doing field observations to record all these counts of passengers on motorbikes, on bicycles, walking, on the minibuses and on buses, and how the demand patterns change day in, day out. And then we are also using focus group discussions to get more qualitative and more into depth with the experiences that passengers face. The next slide is just summarizing our work packages, which we use this diamond graphic here to explain. From our conceptualization and synthesis, it sits on these 3 pillars of the work package 1, 2, and 3, whereby 3 is mainly looking at the providers or the operators of these popular transport systems, and 4 looks at the users. These are the travelers, the people that are consuming these systems. And then we always have our next generation scholars as a pillar that, together with policy and governance, helps us to achieve the aim of the project, being integration. The next slide here is just the same, our work packages, but we try to frame them and ensure that we are trying to fit within the pillars of VREF, knowledge building, community of learners, and the next generation scholars. I think the rest I've already presented. The next slide is not clear at all, but this is our 3-year timeline. So the purple line just shows where we are right now. But we've tried to provide an easier graphic here that shows what we've been doing for the last 8-9 months, putting together all our project documents, signing the consortium agreements, drafting several tools that are helping us to interact better on the project. A few of us, in fact, 5 of us attended the VREF Global Summit in May. Now we have this research forum aiming to do the annual reporting at the end of the month, hopefully. And then we have one of our research assistants, Eugene, in Ghana for 5 weeks. He's taking up the study visit grant from VREF with lots of appreciations for that. We've been having urban transit walks and reconnaissance fieldwork in Ghana. We have, through internal funding, been lucky enough to organize a workshop in Aalto, Finland in November this year, where we'll come together about 8-7 researchers to again think about the next steps of the project. We aim to have submitted 2 articles to a peer-reviewed journal in November, December this year. So the next slide, and I'll just go quickly, is just a demonstration of what we are trying to do here when we do our urban transit walks and reconnaissance studies, is that we are trying to walk through all these transit paths and mapping where the popular transport modes go. So for example, this is Kigali on the left, Kumasi on the right. Kumasi team have gone ahead to actually map where the specific modes go, where the pragias go, where the trotros go, and where people walk, and where most of the stations are found. And with this kind of data, we are also, on this graphic is more or less the same that I discussed in the morning, with a graphic from Ghana on the left and Huye in Rwanda on the right. You can already see the 4 or 5 modes that I described in the beginning. So these are becoming more important to us, and we are trying to interact with these images and talking to the people that are working here, taking these modes of transport in order to understand that. So we have been running a questionnaire in both countries right now, and this is just a representation of a bit of the early stages analysis that we are doing, looking at people's appreciation of, as operators, how does the union support them? And a graphic like the one below left here is confirming that if the surrounding land use of the spaces or the neighborhoods that we are studying is actually mixed, this sort of answers to the expectations of what we expect in our popular neighborhoods, and as well as the use of popular transport. This is a demonstration of just further questions that we've been asking through our work package 3 and 4 questionnaires, and maps that are showing how we are being intentional on collecting data to make sure that our sample is well representative. And this is just another demonstration of the reasons why people are traveling regularly. And when our data starts to show that close to 65% are traveling for work, that even makes our work more meaningful, because work is, a very important economic, socio-economic aspects of the fabric of our everyday. So the data is really giving us lots of inspiration and more reason to keep going on the project. This is also an example from the reconnaissance studies in Ghana, where the results have been summarized in bullet points. My last, most favorite slide here is a thank you to VREF. These are our young scholars that have tried to capture the V, R, E, and F during the kickoff meeting here, because without the support from VREF, we would not be, looking at the dreams and the visions on the faces of these young people. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Josephine. That was a very innovative way of presenting VREF, I must say. So thank you for keeping to our time. So our commentator to the point presentation is Maleki Kaisi. Maleki is a professional teacher and a transport specialist, holding a PhD degree in transport geography. He has worked for the World Health Organization until July 25, having been a lecturer also at the Kenyatta University in Nairobi. His research focuses on transport governance, as well as policy change, road safety, walking, cycling, and public transport. Please, Maleki, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all of you from Kenya, Kakamega, just next to a very rich tropical forest. Point has identified a very critical gap in knowledge, that is integration of popular transport systems in African cities. And they are seeking to achieve this goal by developing and testing a conceptual model that is labeled the colonial Ubuntu Systems Intelligence. I really like what they're doing here. They're challenging existing transport scholarship that tends to analyze transport systems in the global south or in the world of the majority in relation to what exists in the global north. So they're saying this does not do justice. We need to look at these transport systems as in their own right, as systems that have organized and emerged. Secondly, they have taken a very bold step to move away from the capital cities and go to secondary towns, which again is innovative. Another innovation are the methods they're using storytelling, which is quite crucial. And secondly, they're using community validation. And these are methods we rarely utilize in transport research. I'll go straight to the questions I have. I'm very aware that the project is in its early stages and is being formulated. But I have questions listening to Dr. Josephine. Looked at the slides. I've also read your proposal. I'd like you to go a bit deeper in conceptualizing integration, popular to popular transport integration. At what level are you analyzing integration? Is it at the user? Is it at the infrastructure development? Is it in terms of complementarity? And the question I really pose to you is, to what extent can you live
Maleki, you are muted now. You are muted, please.
Yes, I'm just saying, to what extent can you separate popular from formal? I'm sure you are aware that people who work in the formal sector do invest in the informal or in the popular transport systems. So in short, I'd like you to go deeper in the conceptualization. The second issue that I'm keen on is for you to fully interrogate and build on existing scholarship on Ubuntuism, popular transport, and informal economy. There are very good works you've cited, Meshach Hossa, Rizzo, etc. But you've not shown your point of departure. For example, Meshach Hossa has a very excellent PhD thesis. I think he did it at Oxford University, that goes into the political economy of paratransit or taxi industry in South Africa. But you don't seem to build on this work. Mary Kinyanjui has come out with issues on Ubuntuism, which will give you some informative work. Some work on informal economy that really was done in Canis by Kate Hart, 1973, that will help you to frame this problem. And then some of the work on Ubuntuism and decolonialism coming from Kenneth Kaunda, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Kwame Nkrumah, are really missing. We did very extensive research on this using the Matatu in Kenya, and we found that Matatu sector is self-organizing system with associations, investors, regulations, and several tools, which I think if you interrogated this work, you'd actually find that you can begin to answer some questions and deepen that line of analysis. The third issue that I'd like you to go deeper on is really the method that will be used to conduct policy and governance integration, as well as community validation. I'm just looking at the extent to which the planned workshops, surveys, interviews, and focus group discussions will be adequate in addressing this analysis. The final issue is that I'd like you and your team to relate the current stage of operationalization and the empirical results to the central research purpose and research questions. For example, you just told us that there is initial empirical work coming from Huye on mobility infrastructure available, transport modes used, and the reasons people travel. However, there's no indication on how these early results are contributing to the elaboration of the conceptual model, the Ubuntu model, and to answering the research questions, the 5 very critical research questions that you have. I did not hear much about the progression in the training of the next generation of scholars we mentioned, but how far are you? And also the strategic and catalytic training, how far are you with this? And so this project has great promise in terms of theoretical, methodological, and empirical contribution. And I wish success to Josephine, Dr. Josephine and Malonza and your team as you operationalize. And I'm sure you are going to midwife a bouncing baby in the womb of Poi. I like this to come out. It's very exciting. I look forward to this. My wish is that you and the team will stay to the course and don't get entangled in peripheral issues, some other small projects that will take you from this very critical. So all the best, Josephine and your team, and I do hope you will really deliver this great promise, especially the Ubuntu model. Where are you with this? Have you reconcepted? How does it look at this stage? Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Maleki. Would you like to have comments there, Josephine, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Maleki. Quite several and all on point. Thank you very much for having not only just looked at the slides, but the report that has been submitted. I will only pick one or two to answer to, otherwise there will be just a little bit more time needed for all that. Obviously, there's always a limit as to what can be said in 15 minutes, but I would say that most of the comments are at the right time to us, food for thought as we digest this further. I'll maybe just look at the conceptualizing, because you've come back to this 2 or 3 times. So when we talk about integration, so we are studying these things as systems, and we know that one does not exist alone. There's always the need to integrate, and we are looking at this from 2 lenses, and one is the providers, and the other one is the consumer. So on the providers, this is where we are looking at the owners of these vehicles, operators, and all that. So there's a completely different set of questionnaires for those, as well as tools of engagement. But we are also looking at the users and the experiences, they go through this. So with infrastructure, we are mainly looking to tackle the issues of disjointed infrastructures, where you find that you come from a bus, your house is there, but that last mile, or how do you really connect from the bus to the walk-in, and then you would need to take the bicycle or the motor taxi or the minibus. These are the disjointed points that we would like to connect with our project. With the consumers, is always, as everybody wishes, is looking again, and if I can borrow the values of Ubuntu. And thanks for that question, because I realized that I might have skipped one of the slides that is talking about that. We are looking at all these different values of Ubuntu: respect, dignity, trust, solidarity, compassion, inclusivity. They all sound very well, but we are trying to actually ground them and understand what do these mean in our context here in Rwanda and in Ghana. We spend 2 days together in our kickoff meeting, actually trying to translate these values into our local languages, into different practices of that, and things that we saw during our field work visits at the time. So what we've been trying to do is building those back. In fact, it's through the discussions of the kickoff meeting that Ubuntu came out very strongly as a framework that we can use. So I would really, really want to thank you for sharing references of Meshach, Mary, and of course, the giants of Africa when it comes to our Pan-African leaders. These are all in the pipeline, trying to see how best we can, through empathy, through understanding, through sharing, we can actually digest if I can use the word communalism, that's around popular transport. I think the rest of it were mainly advice or pointing us to the right direction. The bouncing babies will be out as soon as November, December. We expect to have submitted 2 a scoping paper and a methodology paper, and we are looking forward to being able to access the rest of the 2 years of the VREF funding, as well as additional funding. I didn't mention the next generation of scholars at all, but right now, if you look at the attendees, we do have 5 of them sitting somewhere in a room in Aalto University, Finland. So this is through internal funding that's supplementing what we have from VREF, and they're taking part in what we call a WIT lab program, a World in Transition, and looking at how we plow back all this postgraduate training into our program. We've submitted our curricula related to architecture, urban planning, transport planning to professors within the team to take a look and advise on how we can be more grounded with all this. And there's quite lots of work in the pipeline. I think a next forum like this, we would be in a better position to come back to you, Meleki, and all the participants on how we've digested all the amazing feedback that has been given today, and really looking forward to a future where all the projects can continue to flourish. I submit.
Great, thank you very much, Josephine. So we've had some very dynamic presentations here and insightful comments as well. We see a number of common empirical themes in public transport, informal shared mobility, walking, etc. We also have rather diverse theoretical frameworks around equity, approaches to understanding power in politics and governments, and also the idea of Ubuntu and system intelligence. So I'd like to open the floor to comments. I particularly welcome comments not only from within our colleagues within the MAC community, but also those of you who are participating from some of the other programs within the VREF portfolio, which is informal and shared mobility, as well as walking. So please use the raise the hand function and we'll get started. So Ariana, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. And it was so great to hear from these three programs. I am part of PRISM, the Partnership for Research on Informal and Shared Mobility. And as Ransford mentioned, I find a lot of overlap, for example, with the POINT program on popular to popular transport, but also with the ETAMAC program on this equity approach. I enjoyed the three presentations, and I'm looking forward to see how these programs evolve. I have a question for Gladys, or like a suggestion or a question. I am very interested in this project, particularly because I am a political scientist. So I really feel that the part of politics and power is fundamental and very much missing in this transport and mobility conversation. I was looking at the theoretical basis that you used, or the frameworks and the hypotheses, and I have just a question or a comment regarding looking at hypothesis 2 and 3, where you referred sort of like the role of internal and external actors. Have you thought of the phases of power literature, of that, analyzing not only whether a group has power, but which type of power, if this power is more structural, sort of like indirect power, or if it is more direct power, like more political. I think in transport, and if we consider some international organizations or so, maybe their power is more indirect than direct, but if we consider more so local actors, it can be more political or direct power. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We've considered all that. We have actually looked into how we test power. You know, in social research, it's very hard to test power, or to measure power, to measure power. But we are looking at all aspects and finding proper methods of, for example, looking at direct power. If you observe a meeting, or if you attend a stakeholders workshop, you can observe the interaction that happens. But sometimes there is power that is hidden. There's open power and power that you cannot see. So we also, we are looking at all those aspects and coming up with ways of trying to capture that in our study. Our study is ethnographic, so we look at the lived reality of governance through such methods that can give us that information. But before I go, I can invite Professor Dr. Kayesi to just mention something on that.
Look, thanks, Gladys. I'm the senior advisor to this group. What we are doing is to use the chronosis method, where you analyze real incidents where power is displayed. For instance, when you look at the Lagos BRT, you see the interplay between local, international, the role of the mayor, by looking at how did that decision get prioritized. So we are going to select several such, or I'm advising them actually, to select such very specific incidents where we see a confluence of power. And then you analyze how it's displayed through financial allocation, knowledge, directly and indirectly by different players. So someone may not even be seated in the room, but very far away in London, but is influencing the decisions that are being made in Nairobi. So these are the intricacies that I'm advising the group to go into. Thank you.
And maybe if I can just add before I go, we are looking at all other types of power. We have like discursive power, power that is in how things are framed. For example, BRT in Kenya was framed as modern, just like it is framed in all other countries. And paratransit is framed as chaotic. So these are all issues that will affect how decisions will be made for these particular types of transport. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on here. I'll ask ARP-MACs to please come in. ARP-MACs, are you with us? ARP-MACs. Okay, then let's go to Ransford. Go ahead. Ransford, Chiapong.
Hello.
Okay, Ellie, please come in if you can. No?
Yeah.
Let's see if Ellie can come in first.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I don't think Ellie is there. So Ransford, you go ahead.
Yes. I think first and foremost, I want to thank the three groups for the really interesting presentation. I've already talked about the possible overlaps, and I think it would be useful across the different sort of programs to start having these conversations. So yeah, we are open, especially those working in different places in Ghana. As far as our kind of living lab within PRISM program is concerned, I think we would be happy to have this sort of interaction with you to see how best we can work together. And again, across all the programs, I can see the foundations of some kind of data infrastructure. And I think it would be a mixed opportunity if we don't take advantage of that. So different groups are generating different types of data sets with different approaches, qualitative, quantitative. I'm not exactly sure. I don't intend to offer any sort of model for doing this, but I just want to raise that it would be really useful to think about how we can curate all these data sets across the different programs and make it available, accessible in different contexts. And hopefully that could also provide some kind of foundation to building a common data kind of, if platform is a better word here, to start to have comparable data in different contexts on specific topics that it could be the legacy essentially of some of these programs, because usually we do the research, we collect the data, we publish our reports and papers, and we can't trace the data anymore. And different research program starts and then it repeats, it reinvents the whole wheel. So I think documenting this, curating it, and making it available would be really useful, and we could start to have some discussions around how best to do this. Right. Thank you.
That's a very good comment, Ransford. As a matter of fact, the coordinator of the ISM program, Holger Dalkman, and I have started to talk about how we can stimulate contact across the programs. I will mention that Ransford is active in the PRISM program on informal and shared mobility. Thank you. ARP-MACs, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Could we see your face, perhaps?
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes. I must thank the presenters. That was a very good presentation and interesting programs. My interest is on the ETAMAC, especially on the efficiency of the public transportation system. I'm working with Prof. Venter at the University of Pretoria, particularly on that, on efficiency of public transportation system. So I wanted to ask if, for example, because my research area is on the case study area is on Dar es Salaam and Pretoria. So I wanted to ask if the consortium or the promoters already have some data, especially on the formal public transportation system in Dar es Salaam and any informal public transportation system, or if they plan to collect that, and if we could leverage that and work together, maybe, and see if we could share some information, especially on that data.
Thank you. Do any of the consortium leaders want to comment either on ARP-MACs or Ransford's comment?
Yes, thank you, ARP-MACs, for your question. I think we'll address this question locally. We have Hannibal on the call, and we have had some data on Dar es Salaam. We will be leveraging some of the work that VREF has funded in the past on Dar es Salaam and Ghana to leverage some of the both primary data and then secondary data. I'm sure perhaps Hannibal, if you want to comment briefly, but we'll address this internally within the ETAMAC consortium. Yeah.
Fine. Hannibal, do you want to come in here?
Actually, I support what Gifty has just said. We have some data on the paratransit as well as on the bus rapid transit, and lucky enough, we at the University of Dar es Salaam, we are supporting the BRT, the agency, in terms of monitoring and evaluation of the BRT system. So we have data that we can share. So I think you should not worry about that.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments from the other consortium?
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Jen, thanks. Yeah, if I may just come in very quickly to respond to what Ransford was talking about. First, I'm happy to see the face finally. I've seen so much of your work. Congratulations, Ransford, and keep it up. Your comments are really on point, and we are taking them very seriously. These discussions have also been happening with Jen, that coordinates the 3 MAC programs, and I've seen that there's an intention from the overall VRF to actually make sure that there's lots of dialogue and lots of talking among us. So I would just want to say that beyond even data sharing, we are also being intentional on even the methodology. So for example, you will see that both integration and equity, we've somehow given them nicknames. We have equity, the ETAMAC, we have integration, the point, and we have governance, the MIDUTA, is that both projects will use some parts of Ghana as a case study. So it will be important, and we are working towards that, to even make sure that our methodologies are talking to each other and that the data that is collected is actually applicable across the board. This just makes sure that we avoid stakeholder fatigue and all these different kinds of things where point goes and talks to people, and then ETAMAC goes, talks to people. So we are trying to do the same also with governance. Gladys in Kenya, myself here in Rwanda, and Gift in Ghana, is to make sure that there's always dialogue going across, visiting all the projects together, because we don't take it for granted that VRF considered doing an African specific program that is African based. So through Ubuntu or whatever other words we can put into this, the only fair way is what you suggest, Ransford, but not just with the data sharing, but with everything. We have just one continent to exist on, so sharing does help. I submit.
I would also like to add that at MIDUTA, we are also developing a database. If you look at our website, we have a section for that. So we intend that any key materials, all the data that we are going to collect, we are going to have a pool where all the others can also find it and use it, because actually what Ransford is saying is a real problem where we do research and then just disappear. So we need to have databases so that we can have that access, and these databases should be accessed by anybody and everybody, and that will help in advancing the knowledge that we are actually getting. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Any more questions here from the audience so far? We have Ibawuchi Nezi, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all the presents, for a job well done. I think my suggestion goes towards all the models presented, most of them are theoretically based. I would suggest an integration of empirical modeling approach so that there could be future forecast to solve those problems, and which will make them applicable in other sub-Saharan Africa countries that are not actually sampled in the models. So I would like them, especially Gladys and Josephine from their models, and also Gift, to integrate empirical modeling approach so that it would be easy to forecast future trends in those areas.
Thank you. We lost Jane, and she just called me. She texted me on the phone saying that somehow she lost her internet, and she's trying to get back into the session. So I'm trying to replace her. I don't see everybody on the screen though. So Karin, if you could help me see if there's anybody raising their hand.
There are no raised hands at the moment, but please, Gift, Josephina, and Gladys, do you want to comment on what we just heard from Ibewachi?
Right. Oh, okay. Gladys, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm also not putting my internet might just sleep. So I want to say that that's a good observation, but for us we are mostly basing our conceptual framework is based on the theories that we have come up with, and we are working on what we are using are working hypotheses, and they are theory driven. Since ours is an I'm saying anthropology. It's an ethnography study. Mostly, we will base our conceptual model on theory, but that is a welcome suggestion because we are having other methods, and triangulation might actually help at the end. So yes, we will consider what you have said. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to Gift.
Right. Thank you for the question. Yes. So apart from the data sharing and Ezra's question on the empirical approach, yes, we are using both empirical approach in our work as well as some theories. And one of the things that we are also doing is that the instrument that we are designing, for instance, those instruments, we are welcoming others who will want to carry out maybe a comparative study with our study countries that we are considering. So those are shareable with our consortium for others to use. But also to mention that we do have we're using a lot of secondary data to complement our primary data. So these secondary data, they are accessible on most other countries. So some of the scorecard that we'll be developing, they will be extendable to other African cities once we progress. But I should also mention, some of, for instance, our online course that we want to develop will also be a platform to address some of these things. And we will send out an invite for some of you to present maybe case studies on our online course. And we'll send you an invite to be part of that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gift. And Josephine, do you want to have your comment?
Yeah, thanks, Henrik. No, I can't agree more with both the Gift and Gladys. It's food for thought. Obviously, as you've seen, none of the projects we can say we are very, very advanced with the empirical aspects of the project. So some of this is always developing as we go along, but it's a very, very useful comment. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome back to Jane.
Yes.
Is the connection
Yes,
okay now?
I'm doing it through my mobile phone, so I actually don't have access to where the hands are coming up, so I don't see the whole group. So if you continue with the discussion, Henrik, I'll be happy to come in toward the end with the news from the program. I did notice that Winnie Matula had a comment in the chat, which I was wondering if she would like to bring up to the broader group.
Thank you, Jane. We need
Thank
you.
you, Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just appreciating because in recent times there is a lot of debate about Ubuntu and everybody else is trying to attach Ubuntu to what's going on. So I really feel that the young scholars will really be the ones to, if they can really search and see, for example, in this popular transport, is it applicable? What we see today happening, how they operate, how they engage, even just the kind of courtesy that they give to their customers. I mean, is this part of Ubuntu? And if not, is there a possibility that Ubuntu in reality, in its essence, because there is a lot of debate about Ubuntu, I'm glad that somebody has shared a publication, we'll read it, can be applied. And I think these are the grounds that young scholars can get into this very well. The discussion that is currently going on about empirical versus theoretical, I guess many times we are scared about I think architects use a lot of grounded theory, and that is where you go without a presupposition of a theory, and then you do your empirical and you can then generate a theory. And I guess that's the debate that was going on just before now. And the young scholars have a chance, actually, the ones that are attached to the program, to give a go at this. If they can come up with good articles about Ubuntu and its usefulness in the context that Africa finds itself, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. Yes, it was Bradley Rink who posted that comment, and Bradley has raised your hand. So please, perhaps you would like to comment further, Bradley.
Yeah, thanks, Henrik. Yeah, it's all very good comments and discussion about Ubuntu. I think a key tenet of Ubuntu is relationship, and I think in many aspects what all the programs are talking about are really relational geographies of transport and how different bodies and structures and policies relate to each other. Even as much as sort of relationship amongst passengers and drivers and infrastructure. So I think that's an important thread to think about when connecting it to Ubuntu is relationship and relational geographies. And there's, of course, a vast literature on relational geographies and transport. So I think it's a really interesting thread to take forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Bradley. Right now, I don't see any more hands, so maybe we should...
Henrik, could I interrupt just a minute,
Yeah.
if I may? I would like to ask the question to both the consortium leaders as well as to the whole group here. All of the consortiums have expressed interest in connecting with other scholars in the MAC community. And I think it would be really interesting to hear some concrete ideas about how this type of connection might work. From VREF's perspective, one mechanism for contact is to get some study visit grants going between the centers. Another might be to have joint meetings now and then. Another can be, as Ransford was talking about, developing means of curating all the data that is generated. But I'd like to ask that question, and I'd ask first the consortium leaders to come in and share their thoughts about how they will try to really actively engage their colleagues in the broader MAC community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jen, for the question. I think this will be an evolving and undertaking. Yes, so ETAMAC, we at ETAMAC have consciously tried to invite as as many people within our community to connect not only with us in Ghana, but also our partners. One of the ways, for instance, currently we have Kevin Chomo, who is from from Namibia, visiting us in Ghana, who is not related to the ETAMAC, but is here to see how we can collaborate. So that is one aspect using the VREF mobility grants. But we also want to make available especially our instruments. So some of the instruments that we have, we think that they can be implemented in other cities. This is where we might find, we'll try to work out maybe some other funds to facilitate that collaboratively. So that is one opportunity. But also with our online course, we think that it's an area of engagement and having a conversation on that. But also, I think informally we have also with Josephine and Gladys also expressed the idea of having some joint workshops that we will bring our resources together to be able to take advantage of something like that. So that is what I will comment on that for now. Thank you.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Gift, for those suggestions. I also think we can have what we can call peer-to-peer ARP visits. They can actually be supported by whichever way that we'll agree. And this means that we can have a few days visit to the other project, the ARP, the other ARP, so that we can share with them one-on-one and see what they are doing and try to understand them. We can also link our databases in real time, so that as they upload what they have, we are able also to access their databases and see how that can help. We could also have a platform for only the three consortium, the three ARPs, where we meet maybe once in a month to just share what we have or what steps we are taking, just to keep us together, to be able to explore what else we can do together. So those are the three that I can think of right now, but I think that is homework. We can keep thinking and going on.
Yeah, so Jen, can
There's
I
a raised
comment?
hand.
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I think Gift and Gladys have already taken all that could be said, but I just want to emphasize on the value we see and the benefits we have in the already existing the next generation scholars program within the VRF. The study visits are, for example, for the POINT project already being utilized and quite valuable. We have one of the Rwandan research assistants in Ghana for 5 weeks. And sometimes November or early next year, we will have the research assistant from Ghana coming to visit us. So this idea of intentional sharing among us, I think would be very useful. And I also just wanted to add on to the online courses that Gift was already talking about. We can, three of us, talk about the content of these courses. I think we can co-create and maybe probably offer them, co-run them, whatever that word is, so that there is diversity into what we are offering to the audience. The last one is really back to you, Jen, and VRF. Is it possible to actually get a list of, for example, the participants that we have today? I noticed we did not have a specific attendance list into this, but I don't know if members here can consent into that. We can do a quick form, shared form, where we put in our names and our details, because we can then start to extend our strings of connection across. And while I still have the floor, I want to thank Professor Winnie for bringing again and for the useful suggestions around the Ubuntu. For sure, it's a new space and very exciting. That also comes with challenges and opportunities. So we are all happy to keep on experimenting. But what the Ubuntu framework is helping us to do is actually to understand the systems intelligence in a far much better way. The fact that within what we can see in the informalities that we are studying is actually that there is already positive elements of that system, even though these elements are not functioning optimally. In that chaos, in that, Gladys had a nice word of putting it, in the chaos that we see within the popular transport, there's already a lot of successes within that. And so this is allowing us to embrace those challenges and look at how we can actually improve the systems from where they are. So engage them and embrace them and improve them, other than take a distance and say these things are not working for us, they don't work in Africa and this and that. We are not studying the BRT because this is not popular transport as such, but if I use it as an example, you know, other than taking a distance and accusing what's going on and what's not working, the approach to our project is actually getting closer to it, interacting with it, and looking at what is actually working within that, the negative or the problematic areas. So this is how I would say Ubuntu is helping us to really go deep with the understanding. The interconnectedness of these systems, they are actually complex and very big and very huge. So I think the beauty of this can only that we have many, many stakeholders in this meeting and many more to come, that we can think together and look at how to hold our hands together around these trees and think together. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but we are willing to give it our best and see where we get with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Thank you all three. Henrik, is it okay if I come in now and
Meleki's hand up.
Yeah, two people have raised their hands.
Okay, you take care of that. And then when it's time to go,
then
I'll come back in. You take care of that. Go ahead.
And then Ransford, and then it's back to you for the wrapping up, Jane. So
Perfect.
Meleki first, Ransford second, and then Jane, back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I noticed that the three projects have an area they can collaborate on. They begin by assembling and synthesizing existing published and grade literature, which is very extensive. A possible area is for them to work together, pull all this together and establish annotated bibliography of transport research in Africa, which we don't have. As most of you remember, really the list we have is Gordon Curious, and he just listed them. But the group can actually develop annotated bibliography. At the end of it, it will be a good product from VREF funded. So they could explore discussing fully. This is a very concrete area. It will be helpful in training PhD students, but it will give us a very good product that we can use for further area of training, courses, etc. So I'm suggesting to them, the three leaders need to get together and think deeply about the extensive materials they have collected. What are they going to do with it, if not to create annotated bibliography? Thank you.
Thank you, Meleki, for that suggestion. And over to Ransford.
Yes, yeah, finally, I meant to quickly add that, so within PRISM, we've been having this, what we call meet and greet, where individual members of the consortium come to present their work, and through that process, we get to learn about what you're doing and then identify synergies. And to mention that I'm not speaking on behalf of Jackie, by the way, who leads the PRISM consortium, but I quickly wanted to mention that there are two African members, if you like, within PRISM consortium. So it's the Accra Kumasi Living Lab, as we call it, and then the Cape Town Living Lab. So what that means is that we could also have something similar with the three African-based research here, at least from the side of PRISM, and we could have a similar format of meet and greet where, over a certain period of time, we could meet and present briefly, maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes for each research team, what we are doing. And I think that could be a really useful kind of starting point to identifying these synergies and how best we can work together. I will communicate this to Jackie, and I'm sure she'll be happy, to actually take it up.
Thank you, Ransford. That's a very good suggestion, and we will also consider at our side. But with that, I'll leave back to Jane now to wrap up the webinar.
Great, thanks very much. And I apologize that I all of a sudden didn't have electricity here. So I'd just like to mention a little about news about what's happening with VREF. Three things. One, we have a next gen team, in case not all of you are aware of this, which plans and coordinates a lot of activities specifically for our next gen scholars. And we have representatives of each program, the walking, informal, transport, and the MAC program. The coordinators for this are Paschal and Basil and Robert Umbunda. So please, if you're a young scholar and you're not connected to this network, get in touch with them or get in touch with us here at VREF. In relation to that, I will mention there's an upcoming Next Gen Research Forum on the 12th of November about being a young scholar in mobility and access in SSA. What are the conditions, perspectives, problems? And while it's specific to scholars in SSA, we think that some of the issues brought up there have broader relevance for other young scholars in other parts of the program. So save the date, more information will follow. Also specifically from the MAC program, we are preliminarily scheduling, as some of you know, and the second African Transport Research Conference to be held in Cape Town, the beginning of March 2027. More information will follow on that. In the walking program, we are expecting now final applications for building international consortia for walking as a mode of transport, and we expect that the board will be making a decision about this by the end of the year. So we will have information about that ultimately. Within the informal shared mobility program, preparations are underway for an international conference in Bangkok in October 2026, the 19th to the 22nd. So these are also dates that those of you who are interested and affected might want to make a note of. Otherwise, I think that's it, Henrik. So over to you.
Thank you, Jane. And yes, as I just wrote in the chat, posted there while you were speaking, many thanks from us at VREF for all of you joining this research forum. We were almost 100 today, which is terrific, and this is really a terrific community. And a special thanks, of course, to the three speakers and the discussants, and all the lively conversation in the chat was exciting as well. So thanks a lot for that, and keep your eyes open for coming invitations to. This was the first in the new season of research forums, so there will be invitations to other research forums, both in the MAC program but also in the other VREF programs on walking and informal and shared mobility. And more we try to go across the programs with themes that are engaging for anybody in the VREF research community. So with that, thank you all, and thank you, Jane, for moderating, despite your technical challenges today, which is very unusual. You're usually quite stable when it comes to the technology, but because you're in a different site today, this is has been a bit difficult. So thanks a lot for that, and thank you, Karim.